पधारो हमारे देश যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে তবে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে
बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के रूम झूम रूम झूम रूम झूम के बरसने लागी बदरिया रूम झूम के बरसने लागी
तोरे नैना की लागी कटार सजनी चैन पावे न मनवा मार सजनी चैन पावे न मनवा मार सजनी तोर नैना नैना रे तोर नैना की लागी कटार सजनी
Sani pava gari gari sa sani pava gari gari sa sani pava gari gari sa vada pi ganavatim bhajega vada pi ganavatim bhajegam sari gari ga sari sari ga sagari sani pani sari ga pani sari gari sani bagari vada pi ganavatim bhajegam
Hello everyone, this is Ruhi Walia Syal, Ehsaas Woman Jalandhar. American best-selling author Henry Cloud had once famously said, dating should be a part of your life, and this segment is dedicated to the rendezvous between two souls. Prabha Khaitan Foundation brings to you the last segment of Chasing Love Festival, namely Dating Shating. The foundation is based out of Kolkata and is dedicatedly working towards socio-cultural welfare for the past 40 years in more than 40 cities in as well as outside India. We have Miss Anuja Chauhan, Mr. Anuvab Pal, Mr. G. Sampath, Miss Rubi Chakravarti and Miss Zakoye. Anuja Chauhan is an Indian author, advertiser and screenwriter. As a writer, she is known for The Zoya Factor, Battle for Bitora, Those Pricey Thakur Girls, The House That BJ Built, Bars and Club You to Death. She worked at the JWT Advertising Agency in India for over 17 years, becoming Vice President and Executive Creative Director before resigning in 2010 to pursue a full-time literary career. Anuvab Pal is an Indian stand-up comedian, screenwriter, playwright and novelist. He is occasionally featured as a rotating co-host on season 4 of the top-rated podcast, The Bugle. G. Sampath is the author of How to Make Enemies and Offend People, and the editor of The Pleasure Principle, an anthology of erotic stories. Rubi Chakravarti is a theatre aficionado, international stand-up comedian and performing artist, actor, columnist, writer, corporate nurturer and activist. She has been felicitated as a Woman Achiever by Bangalore Club on the occasion of International Women's Day and by Titan Industries for a contribution to entertainment, arts and theatre. Zakoye is the author of the popular comic thriller Once Upon a Time in Scandinavistan and Mr. Majestic. The Tout of the Bangalore, which is the first of the Hari Majestic crime and detective series. He has written over 12 other books which have been translated into several languages. In conversation with the anthology of writers, we have with us Miss Shinie Antony. Shinie Antony has written the books Barefoot and Pregnant, and The Girl Who Couldn't Love. She has compiled a humor anthology, Just Like That, Just Like That. Co-founder of the Bangalore Literature Festival and director of the Bangalore Poetry Festival, she is also a humor columnist. Over to you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay. Thank you all for joining in. You guys are all insanely funny. Zach and Anuja's novels, Sampath's columns, Anuvab is India's first stand-up, and Ruby is Bangalore's funny bone. I just want to know, when did you first realize that humor is your thing? Was there a dramatic moment with thunder and lightning? You looked into a mirror and thought, damn, I'm funny. Anuvab?
Well, in school I used to get beaten up a lot because I was a short, fat, round Bengali boy, and funny was a good way to not get beaten up, because people, sort of the taller, bigger Punjabi boys, didn't beat you up that much. I don't know if the taller, bigger boys beating me up are Punjabi. This is a really unfair stereotype, but I realized very that it was a good way to get people to like you. I was terrible at sports, and I didn't particularly think I was funny. But once people stop beating you up, you think, okay, maybe you're doing something right. So it was never, it wasn't. It was a life-saving thing. It was.
It's a form of defense.
Yeah, it was like getting an oxygen tank. It wasn't like, oh, I'm very funny, therefore let me go and see if I can be interesting to other people. It was literally, oh, if I'm not funny, this guy's gonna take me and put my head in the sand.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you were. I realize. So I think my story is slightly similar, but in the sense, I'm the youngest of 4 sisters, and my sisters are all very beautiful, and I didn't have anything to compete with at that in that way. And there was actually like an incident that actually started this whole thing where my dad was in the army, and there used to be something called a May Queen ball, and you went there and you hoped to be crowned May Prince or May Princess. And I went with my very beautiful sister, and I think I was 11 years old. So there was going to be a May King, a May Queen, a May Prince, and a May Princess. And I wore my best jeans and my best T-shirt, and I went to this event. And my sister was crowned. They came and asked her name, and so she, when they come and ask you your name, you sort of know that you're being considered. And they asked her name, and then they wrote it down, and they came running to me and they asked me my name and wrote it down, and I accidentally ended up being crowned May Prince. And at that point, the only thing I could do about that, my sister was the May Princess and I was the May Princess, just laugh about it at that point. It was a much unkinder world at that point. And I realized the only way to get out of it was to make lots of jokes and stuff. Yeah, it actually sounds like quite a sad story when I tell it to you, but but it was a fun evening.
Okay, so me, I don't think I have a story that is very different from the rest. And as you can see me, I'm 5 feet 10 inches tall and 5 feet 10 and a quarter inches broad. And luckily for me, I could beat up the Punjabis and the Pathans and whoever else I needed to beat up together. But I was an army brat also, and I have 2 majorly older siblings. My brother is nearly about 12, 14 years older than me, and my sister, same, about 10. So I needed a voice. I needed to be heard other than just being, the Ruby that everybody forgot about. So I suppose that's when I discovered I don't know. I don't think I was very funny, but I was just a big copycat because my siblings were very, very effusive and funny, and they did everything. And I just sort of honed on to their personality. But when we changed a lot of schools, I changed a lot of schools because my father prematurely retired and moved from place to place, from Bombay to Calcutta, back to Bombay. So I realized the only way to make friends and to be known and to be, I was always ambitious. I just didn't want to be a world class. So was being funny or being on stage, and both of which I am now. And of course, I did make a lot of friends, and it did help. But later on, I remember telling my mother that when I was all of 14 or 15, Mom, all I want to be is I want to be an actor. She said, yeah, now go and act like Einstein and do your math homework, you know. So I know that it was not, actually I had the gift of the gap, so I became a lawyer. And at 40, when my brain fell together and my body fell apart, I decided to do what I love to do. That was to be a performer. And then I started using humor as a training tool. I started honing my skills at humor. And then I said, why should I make everybody laugh for free? So that's how being a stand-up comedian came about. Not actually, I just wanted to raise the bar of comedy in India. It was all fat jokes and, you know, double meaning on these. I just wanted to make stand-up comedy. So I did. I went and I performed at the Lord's Pavilion in London, and everybody said, but where are you from, darling? And I kept saying Bangalore. And they said, oh, we know that perhaps you did come from Bangalore, but where are you from? Hoping that I would be somewhere from there. I said, no, from Bangalore. So it's nice. I perform all over the world, and it's nice. It's, well, now sort of I've got into the being funny and being a stand-up comedian are two different things. You have to have a lot of, I think, you have to be very quick and have a command of the language to be a stand-up comedian. But I think being funny or having a sense of humor is a huge, it's a very impressive tool to have, in a sense that it's a very non-cynosure tool, and it opens up a lot of listening. So yeah, I use it. I use it a lot. Sampath, what about you?
Yeah, okay. Well, my story is not exactly dissimilar from what you've heard so far, except that I think Anuvab mentioned that it's more like a tool of defense or whatever. In my case, it's more a tool of offense, I would say. It's a way of, what should I say, a muted aggression, so to speak. But I think I got whatever sense of humor I have from my father. He's a very sarcastic person. So you don't know at any given point of time whether he's praising you or or scolding you, because those are the kinds of comments one would get. So I think I absorbed that sarcasm, and there used to be a lot of irony and sarcasm growing up, even in mundane situations. So you sort of imbibe that sensibility. You look at something, and most people would see something, and then you would sort of articulate it in a different way. And I think the first big thought that I could write humor came when I was in college. In college, we had a humor club. And in fact, one of the editors of the humor club was somebody called Manu Joseph. So we were all together in this humor club, and we'd go out for competitions and jam competitions and so on. So that sort of honed your humor muscles, so to speak, and you picked up certain techniques and so on. And later, of course, once you get into this, it becomes very difficult to keep it at bay. So I'm not a career humor person like, say, Rubi is, with a stand-up comedian and Anuvab and so on. I am still a mainstream hack. And I write op-eds and editorials, and even there, sarcasm and humor sort of make their way in against my will. And so this column is what is like pure humor, so to speak. And even there, many people would find it really offensive, and I use humor as an offensive tool. My book is called How to Make Enemies and Offend People, and that's how I use humor. And that's been my journey so far. Yeah.
But sorry to interrupt, but Sampath, really to just define, stand-up comedy is a very small part of my repertoire. So I'm a columnist also. I write for Indian Express, and again, I mean, it's like diarrhea of the mouth. I don't put one foot; I put both the feet inside. But I think what happens is, I'm able to, the white men with their white shoes and their curling machines. I don't name people. I have become very succinct with my languaging because of it, I feel. So there's a lot I can say couched in humor. You're saying sarcasm. So,
yes,
yeah.
of course. I mean, yeah, even in your case, as you say, it might be one small component of what you do, but the way I've been looking at it, I think stand-up comedy, even though it's a very small industry comparatively in India, it has an outsized impact. I mean, we see every day the kind of impact they have, and they do a lot of high impact work. So from that point of view, I think it's a really a huge thing to be able to have a platform in that industry as well. So that's how I meant it.
You have to claim your space, make your own space.
Yes. Yeah.
Zach?
Well, see, my case, it was a bit like I was a very ambitious child when I was a child before I grew up. So I wanted to be an astronaut or a cowboy or, something cool like that. But then I realized that I'm sort of, bespectacled and then I don't have much physical strength or anything like that. So then I realized that astronaut, cowboy, and all those things are kind of out of the question as careers. So then I tried very hard to become a clown. And so I was doing all these things like falling over and stumbling and hitting my head in walls and things like that, until I was borderline, getting brain damage on a daily basis. And still people were not laughing. So I started getting very desperate and realized that maybe I'm not even cut out to be a clown, because, physical comedy, you need to be physical. You can't be like a paunchy old guy like me. I mean, I wasn't a paunchy old guy as a child, but I was probably destined to be a paunchy old guy already then. So what happened instead in my case is that after I was trying hard to, become funny and become, like a performer and become something as good as you all are, I realized at some point that I will never become as good as you all are. So then instead I stopped trying, and then I think like in the process of not trying to be funny, but like trying to be very serious, then people started finding that funny. So like I never smile. I never laugh at my own one-liners or anything like that. And I just say things that, and then people for, about 5 seconds, they don't even know what to do, whether they should hit me and get offended. And then after a while, it dawns on them that, oh, that was quite funny. And then they start laughing. So in the process of not trying to be funny, somehow I started to become funny. Does that make sense at all? Probably not.
It does. Totally get you.
I remember, Zach, in your novel, one of your novels, the main protagonist, the postwoman comes in and uses his loo or something, and then she comes out and says, do you have hair fall? Or something, some such intimate question, because she had seen some shampoo for hair fall. And he's like surprised, and he's like, why is she asking me that? So
no, that's a dog shampoo for hair fall.
Yeah.
But his dog is already dead. So it's a very sad thing, actually. But some people might find it funny, like people with a slightly perverse bend of mind.
I didn't find it funny at all. I thought it was very tragic.
Yeah, it's very, very sad, but kind of funny in a sad way. But see, that's also the thing. That's also the thing. I was born in Finland. In Finland, where like the whole thing about being Finnish is to always be sad and never be happy. And even then, on all these, worldwide, when they measure the global happiness levels, it's not the Bhutanese that are seen as the happiest people on earth, although they count their, instead of GNP, they have some happiness factor. But it's always the Finnish that are supposed to be most happy. And every Finnish person gets very sad because, I mean, it doesn't reflect their true nature.
So the weather is so bad, actually. Imagine being cold all the time.
Cold.
And you're right. You're right. You're right. That's a very succinct observation.
Grim. Yes.
Okay. Now we come to a very serious matter. What's your opinion on roses? Do you give them? Do you get them? Anuvab?
I don't get a lot of roses on a regular basis. I feel like roses had like a decade. Like I feel like 1980s, a lot of roses, a lot of TV ads had roses. I feel like 2022 is not the era of roses. I don't know why I feel that. Like it's still around. I think flower shops have it, but I think and it's obviously still, if you're asking if it's still a symbol of love, I assume it still is. But
because in flower shops, they are the most expensive. If you want a huge bunch of really nice, tight, budded red roses, and especially now during Valentine's week, it would be really costly.
Yeah, I think so. And now I think I don't know what they do with how they make flowers, but you get like pink roses, yellow roses, I don't know, black roses, green roses. I don't know what they make nowadays. But I think it's
China, they
quite,
make it in China from some kind of nuclear waste and plastic, I think.
there you go. See, it's already sounding like one of Zach's murder mystery books, which I love reading. It's like some rose comes from China, someone smells it, someone dies, that kind of thing.
That
But
kind of-
Roses.
my view is, I feel like when I was growing up in the 80s, there was a big rose thing. Now I don't, if you're asking like around Valentine's what people give each other, I have no idea. I think it's all changed. Um, I assume that, I think my partner would really like a Amazon gift card with, some basic
But if
things.
your doorbell rings and you get this cute bunch of red roses on your birthday or on Valentine's Day or something, would you just chuck it in the trash?
I
Or
wouldn't
wouldn't
chuck
you
it in
want to
the
know who sent them to you?
100%. I'd want to know, but I'd also be concerned. It's a bit creepy. Like if someone said a middle-aged man a bunch of roses with some cryptic note, I'd be a little concerned. I'm concerned now talking about it, actually.
Actually, I
Um,
must tell you, when I think I was newly married, my husband sent me, he was in another town, he sent me, there was no name card on that. I actually went and asked like 3 different men in my office, did you send me flowers? And later when I came to know it was my husband, I was like, oh, it was you. I was like, quite, it just seemed like a very dull thing for him to do. Anuja, what do you say? Because you've seen, no, on these traffic lights, we are driving past and there are these little kids who come and try to sell you these roses. So what do you feel about roses per se?
No, when you say roses, I do associate them with street urchins. That's where I like. They'll always come and somehow they can tell I'm a sucker, and I always come back with like a bajillion roses simply because they're so persuasive and you're like, acha de do. And there's that whole hoary tale about they've robbed a graveyard and whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
But I chop down the stalks and I put them in tight arrangements. I mean, it's fine, but I don't associate roses with romance. I associate it's. I think that era, like somebody said, is gone. And if someone gives me roses, I'd sort of think it's like a very obvious, cheap shortcut kind of thing. The sense is always that the secretary must have ordered it or must have made. There's zero effort in roses. It's different if someone has got you, they have a rose bush and they plucked and got. But that's a very old auntie G gift to give. Like a friend of my mom's sends me roses hand from her garden grown, which is a whole different thing. But I must say, I love the scent of roses. I love Desi Gulab, which is like associated with festivals and Tyohar and stuff. So the smell of Desi Gulab, and I love the perfumes like Moroccan rose or British rose or whatever they have in lotions and stuff. But no, if my husband sent me roses, I would be convinced he's having an affair or cheating on me. Has broken all my fixed deposits and is planning a swift exit. Like it would really get all my, I'd be very suspicious. Ki se kya ho gaya and why is this happening?
but also,
So it'll become a
Anuja,
whodunit. It'll become a whodunit, Anuja.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
also, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but I was going to say, if all your fixed deposits are broken and all you get are 12 roses in return, that's worrying. That's definitely worrying.
Yeah, Ruby?
I don't have any association with roses, and I never did. I mean, I was never a person who followed set patterns. So roses, as Anuja said, definitely, who are you sleeping with? Like, come on out with it type of thing. But as it's very passive, and it's also like zero effort in, as she says. I have my mom's friend, Priya Mascarenes, whose garden gets surprised every year. So she sends me these very exotic flowers, and I know she's plucked them and she's done them, and I need special vases and big huggies to put them in, and so that like even to display those birds of paradise or whatever, it takes an effort, and it's a labor of love because she wouldn't give it to anybody, and she sends that with a bottle of prosecco. So I feel loved, but roses very passive, and I think. Even talking on behalf of my younger children now, like I don't think like they'll appreciate roses, or maybe a gift card to Wabi Sabi would be better, something like that. Not roses. Roses very passive.
Okay, got it. Sampath?
Well, see, I'm a rose person. I like roses, but I don't like physical flowers. Like the last time, I think whenever I bought a rose, I felt very conspicuous walking with it, getting into a metro, getting into an elevator, coming out. I mean, there is a record going on in my head. What are all these people thinking? The guy who looks like this is carrying a rose for whom, So carrying a rose physically or even receiving it from someone physically, it makes me very uncomfortable. Physical roses, I mean, actual flowers in real life, they are really out of place, and I'm not comfortable with them because they send all kinds of, they create all kinds of problems. Like you have to keep them somewhere, you'll have to find water for them, otherwise they die, I guess. So I like roses which are emojis. And because my phone, and I think Anuja said it takes a lot of effort or no effort. I think emojis demand the right amount of effort when you have to give flowers to someone. So my phone has two kinds of flowers. One of them are roses. The other one is the flowers which you put on dead bodies. I don't know what they're called. So yeah, I think there's a particular kind of flower you put on.
Dead flowers, probably.
Sorry?
Dead flowers, probably.
Dead flowers, but yeah.
It's an irony to put live flowers on dead people, right?
All flowers are dead flowers.
Yeah, all flowers are dead flowers, actually.
Yeah. So this other flower, I think if you're trying to tell a girl that you remind me of a flower, I don't think you want to give her a flower which reminds her of a dead body. So I go for usually the rose emojis on my phone. I think it's there on both iPhone and Android. I think they look different, but they look like normal roses. And so far the responses have been really appreciative. Yeah. So I like rose emojis. Yeah.
Zach?
Well, I was listening to what Anuja and Ruby were saying, that like immediately if a man would give roses to a woman, especially a married man giving roses to the wife, it would lead to all kinds of suspicions and, about affairs and what have you done to my fixed deposits, and followed by divorce proceedings and all that kind of thing. So I would probably after this conversation avoid roses and think more like in terms of giving a cactus and a bottle of tequila or something like that to my wife. Rosé wine, but that also sounds very rosy. But on the whole, it seems like roses, because they cut, it's a bit like a waste. Whereas a cactus, if you buy a cactus, it comes in some kind of what you call that thing, that they keep. And then cactus also doesn't need that much water. You just put little tequila once in a while, and it sort of will last almost as long as your marriage.
Which cactus is he growing? I have no idea. I want that cactus you're growing.
Okay, so my maths is atrocious, but I think we are 3 men, 3 women. Okay, so let's get a little sexist. I've heard that people say that women put sense of humor on the top of the list when it comes to finding a partner, but men don't. They can say looks, they can say legs, but they don't say, God, give me a girl who makes me piss myself laughing. Why is that?
I am most equipped to answer that.
So I suppose I should go first in an
Yes.
alphabetical order, in a tricky question. I mean, it's not very true in my case. I like funny people, whether of whatever gender, and I suppose if I want to be with a partner, I find a sense of humor to be quite an attractive quality in a person.
Recently there was this American female comedian who said this. She said, when a really hot-looking guy comes into the audience and if he's really laughing, then I know he's not going to look at me as a potential sexual partner.
So that may be true in her case. It's probably not true in everybody's case. I mean, there's a sort of underlying sexist assumption here, which is accurate most of the time, I assume, that that men look for attractive women, which I'm assuming is true, regardless of whether they're humorous or not. But I think it varies person to person. If you're asking me if
it does, but we say hasi to fasi in India, and that's a male dialogue.
Yeah,
that's for them. That is for them. Agar you laugh at his inane jokes, then
yes.
Yes, exactly.
So women, in fact, trained themselves in fake laughing.
See,
And
this is what I think. If Anubhav is done, this is a topic that gets me really excited. So I'll just wait till he's done, though.
yeah,
No, no,
okay.
I just wanted to say that, I don't, if there's something wrong with the phrase where it says, I laughed and I was trapped in this relationship, which
Yeah.
means, which is sort of like, there's some sort of a drug that is keeping you in this relationship. Whereas I would imagine that if two partners have a good sense of humor, it'll get them through life, I think. As opposed to, like if you are in a relationship where there's constant performance, like if somebody's constantly performing it can be exhausting, I think, after a while.
Yes, yes.
If the person is, as opposed to if two people are pretty funny with each other, I think that's I personally don't know how two really serious people have a relationship. I've always wanted to meet a couple who are both extreme. Actually, I know couples like this who are extremely serious. Like even if somebody in the group tells a joke, they turn the story into something serious by bringing death into it or whatever. Like I know people like, and I don't know how lots of love to those people, but I don't know how they make it. But India is full of very serious, very alpha couples who are both very successful, whatever, but very serious. Like even with humor, they take it very seriously. With fitness, they take it very seriously. That to me is very scary. But the fact that one partner will be chosen only if they're funny, um, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. It's not true in my case. I'd like to argue my partner is much funnier than I am, but yeah, I mean, one of us is unfortunately chosen to do it for a living, but that is their disadvantage, I think.
All right,
See,
Anuja.
See, you know what this is my theory. I think humor is about power. If you go to a party, there is a circle around. So there's like some alpha guy and he's cracking jokes. And then everybody's standing in an admiring circle laughing. There are lots of men laughing, but all the women laugh. The woman's role traditionally is that the man
To
tells a
laugh.
joke and the woman
Yes.
laughs. And I know because I was in a co-ed school till I was in class 6, and then I went to and there this was the pattern I observed. And then I was in a boarding school only for girls for a long time, and then I went back. So anyway, so I spent time in both institutions, and when I was in Miranda House, which is an all girls thing, I realized that the class clowns are girls. Up till then, the class clowns were always boy, and it's like, haha, he's so funny, and you're standing on the sideline giggling, and all the main lines, all the power in that room, because a a humorous person is a confident person. They put themselves out there, they drop a punchline, and they're confident that people will laugh. It's about power. And in Miranda House, I realized that all the class clowns are girls, and it's cool. I can be a clown too, I can be funny too. It changes the dynamic. So I think when they say girls look for a sense of humor, they're looking for a guy who's easy in his skin, who knows when to drop that punchline, who's everybody looks at admiringly towards. And men maybe traditionally don't look for that because they're looking for somebody who's going to have that other role of being the one who admires and laughs and is essentially in spectator mode her whole entire life. And I think that's why Anubhav says that it's nice when there's a balance. When someone makes you laugh, you make that person laugh. It's a healthy relationship with an equal distribution of power. And it's not performative then, because the man is not under constant pressure that I should be funny and then she laughs. So I think that's what it is. And that's why I really love it when they are funny women, like Ruby, or like all the other lovely stand-up comics we have, or even women on television, or like Mindy Kaling and Ellen DeGeneres, or whoever is that we find funny. So um, I think that somewhere that's what it's about, that particular search for humor in men. I mean, I don't know if this is in any way connected, but I remember in every Hindi movie, they'll show that a girl is eating golgappas and a boy falls in love with her. It's like a trope you see it in every movie. So many movies, like she's eating golgappas and he sees her eating golgappas, laughing with the girlfriends and loving the spice and all. So besides all the obvious oral connotations, I asked the guy, I said, like, why do men like women who eat chaat? And he said, because chaat is cheap. So I think I can afford this girlfriend. Because I think it chaat to main bhi khila sakta hu, you know. So maybe I have a chance. So I think that for men like these, somewhere, maybe for very young men, and of course I'm so old, is that these parameters are important, that she'll laugh at my jokes, and we'll eat chat together, and it'll all be affordable and lovely and sort of low tension. it's something to do with that, I think.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a deep breath and start, because I think I am the most equipped person to answer this question. Okay. So I'm married to my husband for a very long time, and I became a stand-up comedian much later on in life. But I see, every time I perform and come down, my friends, my male friends actually pat my husband on the back and say, "Yaar, usko control kya kare yaar thoda." You know, how do you allow her to speak? Allow. Really, some gigs I get paid way more than anybody else. And also, I always bag my imagination. So it's a cynosure from outside also. And as Anuja very rightly says, it's a question of power, because if you're funny, you have a command over the language. You know, it's not only even an internet joke. I'll be able to tell you the same thing, but you know, with that pause, with that sense of timing, with it, it's a skill. It's a honed skill. They don't understand that you don't come out humorous from your mother's stomach. So men, I think, are traditionally afraid of women who have too many words in their mouths. They feel insulted. Like, you know, if you say something like, for example, I was just talking, but I do a lot of seminars where I say what is kosher, not kosher, like, you know. And so I said, like, you know, when they say, oh, ghar chalo, she hit me with a rolling pin, it's just not appropriate. But how many of us women just take this thing? Now, if we have to, the tables are turned and you say, acha, ghar chalo, tumko batati, and his face will become that small. No self-respecting Punjabi or any or Saraswat Brahmin man is going to take that shit. You know what I mean? And very often I hear this, like, you know, oh my God, she must be driving you mad at home. Really? No, I'm not in performance mode all the time. I'm an alpha female, I am, but I'm an alpha mother, I'm an alpha wife, I'm an alpha cook. So they tell me sometimes, why don't you open your mouth and tell them that, you know? That, oh, it's how lucky I am because he allows me to do that. And of course I take center stage. I do take center stage. And why shouldn't I, you know? So when I went to, you know, for this seminar, all these heads of departments, they were all women, all fabulously turned out and all, they all came there. They all wanted to tell me what they wanted to address. So I work with HR and find out what ails them. Don't have to belong to the Mensa Club to figure that one out. But everybody was so insistent on putting their point of view across that I actually told my audience at the seminar, I said, oh my God, there was so much testosterone flying around in that room that if I wasn't menopausal, I would have become pregnant. You see, that type of languaging is something which it's my skill. It truly decimates a man. So when they say sense of humor, it's convenient, like how Anuja says. Men who indulge in humor usually indulge in physical humor, like, you know, like Zach said, he wanted to be a clown. Women don't, you know, it's your sense of timing. It's your, you know, whatever it is. But men are afraid of that. And it's across the board. You have to be, I will admire your wife who's funny. I would want to have my own partner who's fun, because then she would have too many words in her mouth, and that's not a secure place for me to be in. Not because I'm a bad man, it's because traditionally I have been brought up to say that I'm the superior one. It's an inbuilt thing inside. So where I, you know, when I go into a party, people surround me, they want to take pictures with me, they want to talk to me. But I always make sure that I keep my husband as my better half, so he doesn't feel I want to know if the tables were turned, how much he would do for you know, keeping that in mind. He'd probably go off with all the adoring thing. I don't. So there's an intrinsic difference. It's you laugh at my joke when I mean, and the funny thing is, Amy says that also. I say something, he's done something idiotic, you know. I said, stop it, just put those hangers on. I won't, because I'm a hanger-on, he said, or something. So I just, you know, just an inadvertent laugh came out. He was so thrilled. He said, Hasi to pasi. It's like deja vu. I don't know, but definitely I know that I'm intimidating. I'm definitely intimidating because My gift of repartee is very strong. I know exactly how to like, but I can't do a lungi dance, you know. I mean, ja ja do dekhe types, but I am constantly at the edge of the game. Is some man who wants to get the better of me by saying something like, see, I mean, you also like shut up, you know. That's his main game in life. Like, what the hell? It's a skill, no? I honed my skill like anybody else. But as a woman, it's damn tough. As a wife, it's even tougher. There you go.
Sampath,
Zach.
Yeah. Okay.
Sampath, sorry.
This, I mean, if I understand the question right, when we are discussing whether it's more of a stereotype to have a situation where men are more funny and women are more hot or something like that.
No. It's like women always put sense of humor like a requisite, like a prerequisite when they're meeting someone, whereas men really don't put that. And I feel, as a woman myself, that I've had almost like competing meetings with the opposite sex, where when you're funny, they try to be funnier. You know,
Okay.
because
I
it's
told
only
you.
one person who's funny. Yeah.
Okay. I think in my experience, it's been the reverse. You know, I mean, I would go with someone. First of all, I would question this because I think sense of humor is inversely proportional to hotness quotient. And many, at least when I was young, many hot people, they don't really give that much of a premium on sense of humor, I feel. So in my own case, my sense of humor or whatever, the tendency to keep cracking jokes, keep making fun of situations of people, it has actually been a handicap in the dating game. You know, I mean, even with my current partner, I think before we got married, I think a number of near breakups happened because of something I said, which I should not have said, but I was just being funny. How could you say this? How dare you say this? No, I was just joking. No, you can't be joking. So those kinds of situations used to happen a lot because I thought I was being funny. So I think it would really, later on I realized that it's good that your partner doesn't really have the same kind of sensibility towards humor. That is one thing. The other thing is that I think it's also good to have a partner who is a foil. You know, if both of you are great comedians or great sense of humor, you might, you know, it's sort of like I think one of the speakers have mentioned, it could get a kind of a performative, competitive kind of a thing, or constantly cracking jokes. So I think it's in a way helps that one person is not in the, what should I say, is not all about or primarily about or even moderately about appreciating humor. And the other person is all about it, because there you have some kind of a filter which happens. You are kept on some kind of a leash. And at the same time, because of this foil aspect, you get a lot of material because you're free to observe and you're free to make notes. And I have used a lot of material. I mean, my wife does figure in quite a bit of the columns and the books I've written. So I think it's a win-win when there is a contrast rather than one person actively seeking sense of humor as some kind of a quality to look forward to in a partner. I don't think my partner chose me because of a sense of humor. It's possible, but I doubt that. And I don't know if I would have gone for someone for their sense of humor either, because as I think I've been saying this for a while now, I think humor is a double-edged thing. You know, it could be very good when you're laughing, but it comes out in different ways in a conflict situation or an anxious situation. So yeah, so those are
So
my
Shinie,
observations.
I'd like to just before Zach, I'd like to interject here because you did say that Sampath was very, very clear about what was the question. So it's like generically. So when Anuja spoke, and me being a stand-up comedian myself, though I am more other things than a stand-up comedian, the thing is, it's a sense of power. Now, when you have your wiry humor and you use it in your columns and books and all that, it's sort of, women are trained to laugh at men who appear humorous or sarcastic. It's an internal training that we have to bolster your ego. The shoe on the other foot doesn't fit that well. And it is definitely a sense of like rape is definitely a power game. It's not about sexual intonation. It's like, I can do this to you, bitch, and I can get away with it. Exactly like with humor, like as you say, and I say humor is a honed skill because you say it doesn't go down well, very well.
Very
But
well.
how do
Correct.
you use it so succinctly that the person doesn't,
Yeah.
that this is the art of using your language skills.
Yeah.
And that is very scary for a man. That is where I was taking the discussion.
Mm.
So women saying, you're so funny, is also something we're trained to do. Men is like, oh, doesn't Mandalo say I can make you laugh also? Is also, these are all roles that we play. So when I brought out my husband's, like keeping him by my side, it's like you will go into wife features in your columns and your books. My husband's features a lot in my repertoires. Because I always say I have my husband.
I just want to say that sometimes, like, like Sampath is saying that sometimes it doesn't go down well or people get offended.
Yeah.
What I have found in a lot of male stand-up acts, that you see, and not just like male stand-up acts like we see on the OTT platforms with, someone will have a Diwali party and they'll call one Uncle Ji who tells chutkulas while everyone has drinks and stuff. Or at weddings, those kind of people come, right? And they'll always be like Shrimati ji. And then all the jokes will be about how he's such a cute little man child and how she's just so strict and, she's so whatever. So those kind of things, I think is the
It's
stuff.
considered very kosher, Anuja.
It's terrible.
I'm telling you, it's not only considered kosher, it is considered like, as I said, na isko control kiya kar. Mere ko control kiya kar. Because it's not like men talk about women, like I always, and see men, the moment they feel the audience, they're not getting that type of, it will become sexual innuendos.
Yeah,
So I always say I'm not a man, so I will not thrust my pelvic girdle in your face and tell you dirty jokes. Because that's what it is. Dekha tune mera pelvic girdle, dekha kya abhi hasas. And the rest of the people are laughing and clapping and hooting and whistling is because pick on somebody else, don't pick on me. Classic Russell Peters also, he does the same thing. He picks on one person. It's a question of domination. I also check out my audience. I go and pee on all the 4 lampposts, demarcate my territory. Then, only thing I don't do is I don't pick on somebody. How does a speaker make you listen also? Pick on one person, thram the shit out of them. The rest of them will fall in line saying, don't do that to me. But I like to make an interpersonal relationship and that takes longer. But I have my husband saying, how much you can talk? Excuse me, my bank balance that FD wanted to break is because of that, by the way, with the roses.
Yeah. Zach, you want to come in?
Yeah, I'm thinking like, I can notice that this is a question that makes the ladies part of the panel very agitated and,
it's not. See,
shouty.
You get upset.
Yes, so I, to even respond to this complex question, I have to kind of break it down into a sort of personal and a more social public part. Like from a personal point of view, since I am like, like a little bit, not only a little bit chauvinist, but also quite ugly and rather stupid person. So for me, humor has always been, that kind of thing, like where you can break the ice with the opposite, like the enemy side, I should say, maybe. And so like if you're at a party, for example, like if you're ugly and stupid and sitting in a corner, like you won't get much attention, but with a little bit of humor, you might be able to, get noticed. And especially if you have a little bit more humor, then you might even get loved a little bit. So I'm saying that from my personal, that from my personal chauvinist point of view now, but I can also see, that there is a larger issue with this. Like I don't really want to defend men because from your point of view, Ruby, they're the enemy side. I can hear that. But like men are very
generic
weak.
statement he made. Control.
Yes.
I am a chauvinist.
But allow chauvinists to speak a little bit, at least. So I think like men also being kind of weak and stupid characters, the thing is that I'm now talking about the other men, not me anymore. But they and maybe a little bit me also, but they get very scared, especially I think I can imagine in today's situation, not so much in the Stone Age when I grew up, when we were, we didn't have mobile phones, but we carved love messages on rock faces and things like that. Okay, even if you go on a date with a chicken curry, not the chick, then like that chicken curry will have some mobile devices, and they might Me Too you before you know it, when you make a pass, or they'll MP3 you and upload it on Clubhouse and WhatsApp, or they rate you unfavorably on Instagram and Facebook, and then your whole future love life is destroyed in one go. So it's a very difficult situation. So what I'm trying to say is something serious, even if I make it in a provocative way, is that this digital thing has turned this whole dating game into a minefield. And so for men are actually a very vulnerable party in this thing, because it's so easy to hate them, to see them as enemies, and to mess up the whole situation.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if you try to be like a gentleman.
No, I don't know about this. It's just that you guys have had it too good too long. So now when we talk about equality, you don't want the same playing field. You want
but
to
we are not those guys from the Stone Age who were the bad guys. We are the modern soft guys. And we are very cute.
Love me.
All right. I'm going to take from Zach's last point about how technology has, brought a lot of changes in modern relationships. Okay, we just have like 5 minutes all together, so everybody will get just like 1 minute to talk. I just want to look at how a lot of romances are powered by texting. All right, texting, and let's say sexting. So because of typos, a lot of things can go wrong. I have texted all the best, and it has gone as all the breast. Okay, somebody else has texted to a co-worker, let's meet outside, and it's gone as let's mate outside. So tell me, if you're sexting, what's that one worst possible thing that can go wrong? Quickly. Anuvab, yeah, your mic is off. Anuvab, your mic is off.
So
You're still muted.
Let's go back the other way. I think for me, first I wouldn't sext, because it's such a KLPD. But anyway, the thing is that if I did, I would be mortified if it went to the wrong person.
Yes. Yes, it's always sexting is always best if you're going to sext the person you want to sext. I agree. Anubhav?
Sorry, no, I was going to basically say what Ruby says. It also depends on what wrong person it goes to. So if you send it to your boss, for example, and all you want to say is, but also it doesn't even have to be a creepy message. If you send your boss, I made dinner tonight, look forward to seeing you.
But that's not sexting, sexting is
I want boss can actually take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So so basically that, but also I think in the modern world, it's also easy to have entire relationships on text without actually ever meeting the person. Start it, begin it, have it, end it.
And especially in the COVID era.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, those things are interesting, but I think if you've typoed a word, your partner is usually clever enough to forgive you because they know it's a typo, right? If you've written somebody's wrong name, which I'm sure millennials do sometimes, that sort of indicates that there are millennials who are having 3-4 conversations at once.
Yes.
I have a 28-year-old cousin who's very active on Hinge, and she's, a very clever young woman. And I don't know how it's changed. I'm 45. I've been with the same person for a very long time. But I guess nowadays, young people have 3 or 4 parallel conversations. And what's very interesting is that they tell me each of the partners fulfill some interest of theirs. So if somebody is a friend of, say, the TV show Friends, they have a romantic and even sexual connection over Friends, whereas somebody else plays squash and that's the connection. And she can talk to 3-4 different men, and each of them have a different interest area, and they have very fulfilling relationships with no real commitment to meet. Some of them could not even be in the country. Um, and that, unfortunately, in the world I grew up in, which is sort of more the world of Anuja's books of, TVs with Anuja, I just finished watching your show. I grew up in Calcutta, and the TV aerial that's trying to get you television in the 1980s. Uh, I grew up in that India, and I was trying to find romance in that India, which is extremely hard because they'd call the one home landline, and obviously your mother or
Yes.
father would pick up. You couldn't keep using the phone for very, very long,
Yeah.
because it was also the phone of the home and the business, and the parents and the grandmother. So it was it was a much, I don't know how any of us actually had love, but it was also sort of cuter in some way, because if you were supposed to meet your girlfriend or whatever in 1987 at some particular place, and you missed it, it was done. It was there'd be some misunderstanding, couple of phone calls, and then next thing 10 years have passed and she's a professor at Stanford, or like life would just happen.
Yeah.
It's not like now where partners can keep track of each other every 3 seconds on WhatsApp. Or it's a very different, I think love and sex are very different now.
Yeah.
So but,
Anuja
but
ji?
but just the typo,
Yeah,
sorry
sorry.
to answer your question, just the typo I think can be forgiven. I think
Yeah.
someone will realize very quickly that you meant something else.
Yeah. No, I think the cruelest and the worst and the laziest thing that's happening all the time now is ghosting. You're
Mm.
talking to somebody and then it's just a void and that person is gone. And it's so much more prevalent than you imagine. You're like you investing the time and the effort, and it's so easy in the lockdown and at this time to just, if you can't be asked, or you've got some other complication, or you're just on the internet to live a double life or whatever it is, the absolutely worst thing, that no closure, no sense of an ending, like nothing, just somebody just drops off the face of the earth. And even though it's like still such a connected planet, it's so possible, and I know young people to whom this has happened, and it's you can't, like, how can you even, it takes you like 2 months to even be able to laugh about it with ease. So that's the most scary thing for me,
That's
that, if you say it's the worst thing that can happen, that's the worst thing that can
that's
happen.
true.
And somehow it just feels crueler, more cruel, because I think, when you're lying under your covers and you're talking to someone, I mean, of course we've done it with phones and all, but you text someone, the phone glows, and that false sense of intimacy that is created, and of a connection that's created, and like, that light can go off and it's gone. So that is because it feels so intimate. The person is with you. It's like, if it was an old school Hindi movie, it would be like, I'm walking and he's walking with me, even though everyone can't see him, but he's there. That it's that level of intimacy. It's like Shah Rukh Khan and main aun, yaun. It's like that, except it's on the phone, and then it's gone. Like, and so that's a really hard one. I've seen a lot of young people struggle with it, and not some young people also who should have known better.
As Anuja said very rightly, I think it's really, there's no sense of commitment. You don't know who's committed to this. So when you have a landline or something like that, you know who you're talking to and what is happening. You're planning to meet. You know who you're meeting. Very rarely a wrong number comes across. But here they have so many sites. They have Tinder. They have Ye. They have O. And the fact is that, and people in committed relationships also do this because it's so easy to. So I feel sometimes when they talk about being unfaithful, I think the worst thing is to be mentally unfaithful, because you are being unfaithful. If you're in another relationship, suppose you're married or something, or this, and people who ghost other people are usually in committed relationships or married or whatever else it is. So I think one of the worst things is to be mentally unfaithful. You do everything, you're mentally unfaithful. I think it's as bad as being, or as whatever,
As actually being faithful. Yeah. Zach?
Okay.
Oh, sorry,
Right.
some. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't do any sexting at all. And the reason being, I keep having these nightmare scenarios in my head of sending it to the wrong person. And I have one particular nightmare scenario which is very real in my head, which is that a sext meant for my lawfully wedded wife, I sent it by mistake to a co-worker who reports to me. and who is someone I had spurned in college, and who is the daughter of the chairperson of the National Commission for Women. So this one text could actually get me Me Too, divorced, unemployed, and jailed. One text. So I think that's a fairly sound reason not to get into sexting at all.
Oh, cute.
But
How cute is that?
let me just add to that. Like, I mean, there are like advantages with relationships on this device that kind of outweigh some of those risks that you're pointing out. Like, for example, you don't have to brush your teeth. You don't have to wear this one. And you don't even have to use deodorant. And you can even date without underwear as long as you don't point the camera that way when you click the selfie. But to click the selfie, you know, in the right correction.
Without underwear.
Sorry, I couldn't hear it.
I
You
just
could
said
ask, she was just being naughty.
Without underwear, doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm speaking theoretically. I am wearing pants. Theoretically, you know that.
Too much
difference.
information.
Yeah, Zach?
So he said he's freer with that. There's a lot of
Yeah.
pros with having relationships on the phone and sexting and stuff like that, because he can be as he is or natural. Right, Zach? That's what you said.
Yeah, or better than natural, even.
All right, all of you. Thank you so much for being so entertaining. Also, Prabha, Khaitan Foundation and all its magic people, Mr. Butoria, Anandita, Mansi, Tusharika, and Rohan for recording us. Good night and happy loving. Thank you.
Thank you, Shinie, for having me and having all of us over here.
Thank you for having us. It was great fun and lovely meeting all of you.
Lovely meeting all of you.
Yeah.
Very nice meeting you.
Hello all. On behalf of the foundation, I would like to thank Ms. Anuja Chauhan, Mr. Anuvab Pal, Mr. G. Sampath, Ms. Rubi Chakravarti, Mr. Zach Oya, along with Ms. Shinie Antony for this session. I would also like to show my gratitude to our presenter, Shree Cements Limited. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our audience and patrons, without whom these sessions would not have been possible. Thank you.